Thank you for tuning in to ICT on PNC, a podcast covering issues that impact the Texas insurance industry. The Insurance Council of Texas is a nonprofit trade association serving the property and casualty insurance industry. We're proud to be the largest state-based insurance trade association in North America. Welcome to ICT on PNC.
Hello, and thank you for joining ICT's Perspectives on Leadership. My name is Camille Garcia, Director of Communications and Public Affairs with ICT, and today we're fortunate to be joined by Grace Grant, Executive Director with Gamma Iota Sigma, better known as GIS. For those of you who may not be entirely familiar with GIS, this organization is a professional organization with students interested in careers in the insurance industry, with 94 chapters nationwide and over 5,000 student members. Grace, thanks again for taking the time to speak with us today, and congratulations on being recently named as GIS's Executive Director. May I ask you to share a little bit about your background?
Absolutely, and thank you so much for inviting me to join today. It's a pleasure to be here and share a little bit more about GIS. So I have been with the organization for a little over 7 years now. I initially joined as our Director of Chapter Operations and grew through a couple different roles and really was involved in a lot of the university growth. So when I joined, we had about 50 chapters, and you mentioned we now have 94. So it's been a lot of tremendous university relationships. Also worked pretty closely with a lot of our professional associations, building out our collaborative industry initiatives. And prior to this role with Gamma, I was also with the Institutes and the Griffith Foundation for several years, where we also focused on next-gen initiatives. So this has been a passion of mine within my career for over a decade now, and something I'm really, honored to be in this leadership role now, having joined or started this role in October. It's really an honor to me to have this role and to positively shape the future of the industry with the talent pipeline that we have at Gamma. So I'm really thrilled to talk a little bit more about some of the exciting things that we have coming up here in 2021.
That's pretty amazing. So you've been sitting in this chair for a whopping 4 months now as executive director. What do you think, as you look back on where you've been, where you come from, where you'd like to go, what do you see as your short or long-term goals that you'd like to either continue or just, hit the ground running?
Absolutely. So, I kind of approached it with two different perspectives. One, we are doing everything we can to listen to our stakeholders. So we've held a series of stakeholder roundtable calls with our sustaining partners. Those are companies who have made a 3-year financial commitment to the organization. We held a stakeholder call with our chapter presidents to really hear from the students. How can we better support you? What challenges are you facing, which is particularly important this year, or last year, I should say, in 2020, when they were faced with so many challenges from the pandemic. So we listened to our student leaders. We also facilitated several different faculty roundtable calls to hear from our professors and hear from the leaders of these chapters, the same thing. How can we support you? How can we help you support your students? And we also held a couple different stakeholder calls, listening to recruiters and professional associations, just to really form the future of Gamma and what direction we're going to go and how we're going to grow, which is my second approach, is responsible growth. We have so many different opportunities and organizations we can partner with, but we need to do it responsibly, and we need to be thoughtful about how we approach that growth so that we do it effectively. So that's kind of, formed how I'm, choosing which goals we're going to pursue and how we grow as an organization, is to listen to our stakeholders and take in their input, and then also to grow responsibly. And, I think from that, we've been able to develop several different resources throughout 2020 that help students through the challenges that they were facing. We put together a virtual project-based internship program. We put together several different guides to equip them in this virtual world. So we had a virtual conference attendance guide and webinar for students to, learn, how do we attend a virtual conference? How do we make the most of it? What are some best practices that we should learn before, jumping into our screen and attending these conferences that were really being thrown at students left and right. So that really informed a lot of the resources that we created. And those are kind of the goals that we have right now from a broad perspective. We're also looking to grow some of our conferences and what we do offer to students in the industry in terms of, connecting the two of them. So we were able to build out our regional conference series in January, reaching 4 regions, which was the biggest that event has ever been. I think that's maybe one silver lining to the virtual world is the accessibility and affordability of those types of events. So we reached over 300 students across 4 regions. And we also doubled the number of companies participating in that event from last year. So that was great to see that kind of growth. And then we follow that up with an event in February and another event in March, which we'll be talking about here in a minute. But I think that's really, the heart of our goals is that we're listening and we are growing responsibly as an organization.
That's pretty amazing. And you talk about this virtual accessibility. Where are you sitting right now as we're having this conversation?
It's funny you asked today. So I am a mother of 5 children, and we actually got about 6 inches of snow at 6 a.m. this morning, which closed the schools and the sitters. So we have all 5 kids home today. So very fortunate that my husband and I play a little bit of tag teaming with the children. So I am hiding upstairs currently, away from all of the children and the noise, while he, works with them underfoot downstairs. So I do work from home. We've actually had this remote structure at Gamma for all of the time that I've been with Gamma. So I've been working remotely for 7 years, but 2020 looked different with, also managing Zoom calls with elementary schoolers, and we actually had our 5th child in 2020. So it was a crazy year to say the least, but we are used to the remote world. Just looked a little bit different for us in 2020. So yes, today I am working upstairs in my home.
Wow. So congratulations not only on a new job, but on a new child and just making this happen. So thank you even more for joining.
Thank you. Absolutely.
As we look back, because of course we're sitting in Austin, Texas, as part of the Insurance Council of Texas. And, we won't be complaining about our 50-degree weather here in February, but, we can attest to the beauty of that snow.
It is pretty. So I'm up in Columbus, Ohio, and it's, we get plenty of snow. We have some winters that aren't quite as severe as this one, but we've gotten quite a bit of snow this year. So yes, I am up north.
Yes, you are. Well, hey, you're talking about, again, as we touch into the vision, the growth, the responsible growth, and the virtual accessibility of things. I love your pipeline event. And now we're heading into 2021, and it's your 4th annual pipeline event. Tell us a little bit more about that, and even how can we get more engaged with that?
Sure. So the pipeline event has been a virtual career fair, and it's always been open to any student from any school. Coming off of the virtual world that 2020 was, where we had so many virtual career fairs, we decided to mix it up a little bit and change the format of the pipeline to hopefully increase student engagement and also bring a unique opportunity to employers to engage with students. So we have changed the format of the pipeline this year. So it will now be more of a networking event. This also comes from some feedback that we've received from recruiters in that some of the students that they see don't always have an understanding of the broader insurance industry. So they want to, see that Gamma is equipping students with a broad understanding of the insurance industry so that when they enter a job, they understand where does this fit into the greater insurance industry. And so the pipeline event will allow students to participate in discussion topics. It will cover things like standing out in a virtual environment, how to make the most of your summer internships, all about mutuals, and several other topics where employers will facilitate conversations around a host of different topics, and they'll engage with the students in this, really authentic way where they're able to talk with them, learn, ask questions, a little bit more, informal than a one-on-one interview. And that will take place before an actual interview session where employers will invite students to a one-on-one interview. But they'll have that opportunity throughout that networking session to engage with students in that capacity. And hopefully, several students will kind of stand out to them. And likewise for the students, they'll be able to engage with these employers, discuss these topics, but also pick up on, what is the culture of this company? What do some of the opportunities look like? And that's something that we learned through our annual student recruiting survey, that the top factor students are looking for is, culture. What is the corporate culture within companies? And that's what's really driving their decisions for full-time employment. So it really hits on a lot of those needs and allows both students and employers to gain significant benefit through this event. And I think another unique thing about it is that it's open beyond Gamma Iota Sigma members. So it is open to any student who may be interested in learning about the insurance industry and in engaging with employers, learning about internship opportunities and full-time employment opportunities, who may not otherwise have had an opportunity to engage in this type of event. So, and there is no cost for students to attend. So we're really trying to, make it as accessible as possible to students across the country.
That's wonderful. That is such an overwhelming approach to supporting the pipeline. And so I love the title of the event. I love the fact that you are really honing in on not only the immediate needs, but creating that long-term vision of what they can expect and how best to prepare themselves. So congratulations on that as well. And I can't, as somebody sitting here in the ICT, and as you know, our ICT Foundation is very much engaged in promoting the next generations of insurance professionals through partnerships with local Texas universities. So everything that you have said is just so near and dear to our hearts, because having worked with these Texas universities, many of whom have GIS chapters, we know the value of GIS. We recognize the value of an engaged GIS chapter on campus that helps not only the professors in guidance and support and resources, but also the students as well. So I can't thank you enough for being that overarching voice of student leadership and next generation insurance professionals. As we begin to close out our segment here with you, any parting words of wisdom, thoughts, or anything that for students, professors, or our members who are listening in?
Yeah, so first I want to say thank you to the ICT for being, a partner of Gamma Iota Sigma and for supporting the local chapters in Texas. They are some of our, strongest chapters, and I know that's because they are so well supported by the insurance industry there and, by organizations like yours. So, thank you for that support and this opportunity to further the mission of Gamma, just in this podcast here. I think anytime that we can get the word out and engage more students and more, components of the industry, that really just helps us further our mission. So, I wanted to be sure to say thank you for that. And there are, to answer your question, there are so many different ways for organizations to engage with Gamma on a national level. We first encourage companies to consider becoming a sustaining partner of Gamma. So that was mentioned at the beginning, where that's an organization who has committed to a 3-year financial commitment. And with it, there are a host of benefits that are associated with that partnership, and, including first access to student resumes, premier branding, increased exposure to students across all of our events. So that's a great way to get engaged with the organization. But there are definitely other ways, we have different conferences throughout the year that companies can certainly, choose which ones may be most relevant to their recruiting needs. We also have opportunities to engage with local chapters, and we are always happy to make those connections to, faculty or student leaders at local chapters. Our students are always looking for that local industry involvement. They're always looking for good speakers, and we actually learned that that's one of their top considerations too when they are evaluating careers in insurance, is that info sessions and speakers coming to campus are a really critical component in expanding, their knowledge and their interest in insurance careers. So we're always happy to make those connections. I would also encourage employers to utilize the Gamma Iota Sigma Career Center. So we have a career center on our website, and internships are actually always free to post to any company. So you can, post any summer internships that you may have, and there are opportunities to post entry-level positions as well. And they get a lot of traction on there. We are constantly driving our students to post their resumes to the Career Center. So definitely take advantage of the Gamma Iota Sigma Career Center. I think you'll find, just the best and brightest talent is represented there, and the resumes posted there. I would also encourage anyone listening to keep an eye out. We will be launching a new event in March that we're really excited about, that will address diversity, equity, and inclusion across the industry. We have partnered with a lot of great professional associations who will be availing their resources to our students, whether that's scholarships or mentorship opportunities or conferences that they can participate in. And we're also going to be launching an HBCU engagement initiative. That will first be starting in the spirit of listening to our stakeholders. We're going to be hosting an HBCU roundtable next week with all of the career services representatives, and faculty will be invited to that as well. And we really want to hear from them. How can we present the insurance industry to your students? How can we showcase? What are your students looking for that, we can prepare, provide, and share? And, we want to hear from them. So we're going to bring the HBCUs together, as many as we can get to participate in that event. And that will also inform that March event, where we'll be putting on the diversity and inclusion event in March. It will consist of opportunities for employers to engage. It'll be a resources fair, and it will also have a fireside chat where students in the industry will be able to discuss, DEI across the industry, and hopefully learn from one another. So we're really excited to be launching that new event in March. So I would definitely say to anyone listening to keep an eye out for more information on that. We'll be launching that here in the next week or two. And then lastly, I would say, to any students or university representatives, I would say get involved. If you haven't already joined Gamma, definitely join. You can join if you don't have a chapter through our at-large membership. You can start a chapter at your school if you have a group of students who are interested. And by all means, if you have a chapter on your campus, get plugged in with the student leaders. We always say that, GIS is what you make of it. And there's just so many different ways to get involved, take advantage of leadership opportunities, and really, create a path for yourself to create a career path that's one that you'll find very rewarding. And we're here to help you with that and support everything across the industry and the student pipeline. So, I think that's, in a nutshell, what I would say is get involved and, keep an eye out for opportunities coming up.
Thanks, Grace. So if anybody has any questions for you, what's the best way to reach you?
Yeah, so you can, find all of our contact information on our website at gammaiotasigma.org, or you can always reach out to me. My email is grace.grant@gammaiotasigma.org, and I'm always also a phone call away. So always happy to hear from our partners and learn ways that we can continue to improve and expand upon the resources and partnerships that we're offering.
That's awesome. Thank you again, Grace. I can't thank you enough on behalf of ICT and our member companies. We really appreciate all the work that you do in order to support and help the next generation of insurance professionals. ICT members and listeners, thank you for joining us. Don't forget that our podcasts, our webinars are free to our general membership. And I invite you to check out our website to learn more about the Education Foundation and so many other resources by visiting. This was our inaugural Leadership Perspectives on Leadership podcast. So again, Grace Grant from Gamma Iota Sigma, thank you for joining us today. If you have any questions to our listeners, my name is Camille Garcia. You can reach me at cgarcia@insurancecouncil.org. And until next time, thank you again.
Thank you for listening to this edition of ICT on PNC. Find us online at insurancecouncil.org for more information about our organization or about the property and casualty insurance industry in Texas.